Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As always, we certainly appreciate you being our listeners each and every Sunday morning. We're in studio with Miss LaShonda Dickerson, and we're talking about domestic violence and how it affects the person that's being abused. And she was sharing her own personal story, and we're talking off air. And again, I've known her for a little bit, and I didn't realize even the extent to how many things that she had gone through. So even for me, it's a shock to know, but I do understand where she's coming from in regards to the behavior that she had to display because she was trying to take care of herself and her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And any good mother is going to do whatever they got to do to protect their children. And so, I mean, I get that, but I'm certainly glad that that's no longer the case.
Amen.
But it's important to people to know we need to have exposure to this.
Absolutely.
Because we need to put a stop to it.
Right.
We can't allow the abuse of people, whether it's a male or whether it's female. Right. We can't allow the abuse, from a significant other, spouse, whatever the case may be, because it's just, one, is wrong, and number two, it affects that person. I mean, because you listen to her story, even right now, she's still suffering from some pains that she had gone through, and it's been some time ago. And so, this is one of those things that stay with a person forever.
Absolutely.
And they're scarred forever. Now, the good thing is, your whole personality and your whole attitude is pleasant, and you're not letting it hold you back, and that's great. But there are people out there who are going through and they don't know what to do.
Well,
and they're scared.
Yeah.
And there's a reason to be scared.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you brought up a good point. What the person told you, hey, listen, the man come back, he got the kid, he got the spouse, and he got himself because, he put himself in that situation where, he thought there was nothing else to do. Right. And who knows what the mindset of the individual, the abuser is. Right. And so it is a very difficult minefield to navigate through. And so my hat's off to you because, the mental, psychological aspect of it has to be difficult.
It is. And very much so.
And for a person to have gone through that, and like I say, there may be people who listen to this program who are actually going through this same situation. And I sincerely hope that nobody is, but if there is, I certainly want them to understand that, one, you're not by yourself.
Right. Absolutely.
And number two, there are resources and places that you can go. Right. She brought up a good point. If you are a person that's going through this, and I want to repeat this number for you too. It's 1-800-799-7233. If you're a person who's going through domestic violence, and domestic violence has many different levels.
Absolutely.
She talked about the abuse verbally. All couples have arguments. I'm not talking about that. You learn to you have a disagreement, and then you come to some compromise, and then you just move on. But I'm talking about that constant abuse where they're constantly being profane towards you. They're constantly downgrading you. They're constantly threatening you, extorting you, with all those type of the things that I'm talking about. And if you're going through that, listen, don't suffer in silence, because suffering in silence is the way to early death for sure.
Yeah.
And so, and listen, I get that there's a lot of fear there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could hear it in the story. I mean, now you don't have that problem, but I could see where there was a lot of fear there. And so you said, there's something I have to do different. At some point in time, the person abused one or two things. Either they succumb to it and they end up unalived, or they say enough and they make a change. And you were one of the ones who said enough and make a change. And the fact that you had somebody who recognized that was also important and key, because again, we're out here, we're living our lives, and I get that. But and I say it all the time, and Angela and I say it on this program all the time. Let's look out for one another.
All right.
Let's, and I know, unfortunately, we also get the feedback. Well, you need to stay out of my business.
Right.
We get that, and I understand that. And listen, nobody's trying to be in your business,
Right.
but people do have a genuine concern about your welfare.
Absolutely.
And so, you might just need, and even if you don't, you may not come right directly and ask somebody, but you can send them a note or send them a text on email, say, hey, is everything okay? Are you good? And let them be the one to do that. You would hope that they would reach out, and like you did, and I'm so glad that you did that, because, I just can't imagine how difficult that was, to experience that. I mean, we hear stories about that. You see shows on TV about that stuff, but to have somebody who's live and come in and have that story with you, it does something for you, because you don't realize when the person that's in that situation, what terror it really is.
And it's a life changing thing to have happened to you. It's life changing, and I say that because I'm going to use an example. I had two children, and so my son has children. And so I recently told him, I was listening to him discipline, come up and say something. And I texted him and I said, I just want you to know something, and don't take it personally, but I just want you to record yourself sometime when you're talking to your children. And he said, what, Ma Dukes? That's what he calls me. He said, I told him, I said, you sound just like your dad, and I'm afraid of that, right? And and it's sad, sometimes when I see my children exemplify, or they have behaviors from just suffering, because people suffer in different ways, right. And they may not suffer when you think they're going to suffer mentally, but like I see different stages. For instance, my son, because he's a boy, I've seen him go through different stages of life, and now he's where I am, and a lot of times we don't understand, like for me, my abuse, I now have PTSD. Who thought that I would have PTSD when I went? And so I'm a big person on mental health. I believe that everybody should unpack what they've packed for so long. And a lot of times we don't realize that we suppress things, but I have a lot of things to unpack because I was battered so long. I was raped, I was abused, so I have a lot of things to unpack. And so this thing, to see my kids unpacking, it's a great thing for me, because I see like, hey, they're releasing a lot of things that they're going to make it to where sometimes, like, especially for my son, he was so angry, and now he's taking that negative part from his abuse and turning it into a positive. Because not only, when you have children and you go through abuse, not only do your children get to see you go through that abuse, they are abused at the same time. Yes. If they do something wrong, they are abused. I've seen the times where my kids had whips on them, it turned into sores on their light skin, and blue and purple as a healing stage, and I would gather them and say, it's going to be okay. So yes, the mental state from the, the aftermath of it, you're going to have it, but it's okay. But you need to get out if you're going through abuse, because, it's not healthy for you. It's not safe for you. No. It's not okay for somebody to abuse you, and I remember I was on the dais at the college, Henderson in Ouachita, in the mental health department. And so the kids, a lot of kids didn't believe, they say, she coming here looking like this. We know she don't know where we been. And there are a few kids that would, pick up my cards and call me later, And so I know that I reached some kids. And then so later on in life, people say, oh my God, you really had a story, right? And so those kids come back because they had something to tell me as well. And it's so sad to hear when kids are being going through being abused with their parents, and they don't have a way out. I think when I go into schools now, that is the saddest thing for me, and that's why I dare not save myself and the humiliation of my story and my face to not talk about where I've been, because it helps somebody. And those kids in those schools, they tell me all the time how much and the different things that they're going through, but how much I help them. And that helps me just go through day to day in my survival.
Wow. It's a lot there. And
almost got me emotional.
Yeah, I can see that, and I get that, and I can understand why. It is, by no stretch of imagination, difficult, not just on the person who's being directly abused, but if there are children involved as well. They also take that abuse, because kids are taught they have to sit back when adults are going through what they're going through.
Right.
And in particular with sons and moms.
Right.
Sons and moms is a different relationship from fathers and daughters.
Right.
And so when sons and moms situation, because of course I'm son and my mom, and you know, you cling to your mom so much. And so when your mom is going through, you're going through.
Absolutely.
And when you have that situation going on and the son can't do anything,
right,
you know, that in itself
balls up anger.
Right.
And it grows.
And it manifests itself.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad to hear that you had the conversation and told him, hey, look, and you know, you don't want to get involved with the disciplinary process, because sometimes kids need it.
Right.
But you want them to recognize that just don't take it too far. Do it in love.
Right.
Don't do it in anger.
Right.
And you know, that's you know, a lot of times, you know, a lot of people when they do this, and this is how it gets out of control. They do discipline. They may be doing it for the right reason, but they do it in anger and not in love.
Right.
And so if you're doing it in love, you know, it manifests itself, and you won't be so, I guess, so aggressive and abusive. And I'm glad that you had that conversation with him.
And he actually laughed because he was unaware of his behavior, because he was like, oh, Mom, he's like, I have to change that, Mom. He said, because, you know, and so I told him sometimes when he's talking to them, or, you know, if he's angry, you know, record himself. Mm-hmm. So he can go back and listen to himself. Mm-hmm. Because I know for certain that he don't want to be where he been with his dad.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? He don't want to become that person.
Go that route.
Absolutely.
He does not want to be there, because he know that wasn't good.
It wasn't a good thing.
And he loved his mama.
Yeah. I mean, he loves his dad, but he don't want to become his dad.
Right. Yeah, but again, the son and mama,
right.
You know, and so, you know, he doesn't want to see, because he recognizes the hurt that you had gone through. Yes. And he was there. He heard the verbal things.
Right.
And then he also saw the physical things.
Right.
And so it could cause PTSD in the kids.
It is. I'm certain. He has therapy as well. My daughter, she's in Fayetteville. She from time to time goes through things, and she has therapy. And like I said, you know, you never know what a person, just because, like, a lot of people see me, they see a dressed up person sometimes. Mm-hmm. They don't see people, you know, I mean, they don't see the person that I am, the things that I've been through. And so when I tell them those things, they're like, you don't know anything about that. I know a lot about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I am it, mm-hmm. You know, right. I was it at some point in my life. And so I know a lot of things, and, you know, that's just the sum of it, you know, never judge a book by its cover.
Right. All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.